think it's important, anybody who wants to kind of trace the roots of development and peace, to kind of go back to 1967. You had the Canadian bishops coming back from Rome. They'd met the bishops from the South, and they'd seen, number one, the level of poverty in the South, but they'd also seen the church in action, working to overcome that poverty. And they decided out of that they really would try as bishops to do something in Canada.
Les années 60, ça a été la fin du Concile Vatican II qui a donné un grand espoir à l'Église.
J'aimerais rendre témoignage au pape Paul VI. Il a dit cette phrase à la fin de son discours qui est resté vraiment célèbre. Désormais, le nouveau nom de la paix, c'est développement.
Vers ultime espoir de la concorde de la paix.
Vatican II was so important for me, and I think because it opened, as they said, it opened up the dustbins, took the dust out of the church. And it really spoke to me about social justice. I think I always had inside of me this, I hated injustices, and it seemed now the church was on the right path.
At the same time, in Canadian society more generally, we were having Expo 67. We were celebrating our 100th anniversary. We were excited about the world with big political changes coming in. So people kind of had an optimism and a sense that we can take on the world, we can do things, we can make a better life for everybody. And development is peace kind of was given birth in that kind of a climate. The man who brought a kind of a very different vision of what helping the poor was all about was Romeo Meoni. Romeo was the first director of development and peace. So the orientation that the organization took on very quickly is we are here to work together with the poor. Not even when people say give them a hand up and all that stuff. No, we are equals, we are human, we both have dignity, we both have a right to a decent future.
It took some time for me to become aware of that change in philosophy. Because all of a sudden we were being told, or it was being suggested that it was far better to invest in the efforts of people in the third world who were planning their own future. It's a much different philosophy than charity.
If there was a famine in Bangladesh, you didn't wait 5 months to find out about it. You knew when it was happening because the media was there. So the world was becoming very much smaller.
Les gens étaient de plus en plus conscients qu'il y avait des inégalités criantes dans la société.
If you look at development and peace in terms of how it was created, the bishop said, let's create something, and they had the first Share Lent campaign. They put together what they understood at the time. How can we help the poor?
On sait bien qu'avant ça, le carême, comme nos grands-parents en parlaient, c'était un temps de privation personnelle. Mais là, avec l'idée que le développement, c'était le nouveau nom de la paix, comme disait le pape Paul VI, carême devenait une occasion d'une solidarité plus grande avec les pays du tiers-monde.
There was that whole transition from being a colony to being independent countries. So it was a very exciting time, but at the same time it was a very difficult time for these countries who were trying to adjust and to become an independent state rather than a colony.
The Biafran War, of course, was raging at the time, and it was all over the news and great human suffering. And so that was probably the first instance where Development and Peace was engaged in common action with the other churches. We became involved in a thing called Canada Relief, which actually bought an airplane and was flying aid and assistance into Biafra.
I think that what Development and Peace allowed people to do was to have that contact that they wouldn't have had otherwise. See, it's a contact you wouldn't have by reading in the newspaper.
A year later, with some time and people in place and an ability to think, they began to develop a strategy as to how does the contribution and the generosity of Canadians actually empower people.
Et ça a permis que les gens prennent conscience que c'était pas un hasard, c'était pas le destin qui leur pesait sur le dos, mais c'était plutôt une exploitation organisée par les pays du Nord. Ça nous interpellait.
Suddenly I realized that my life and how I live affects people elsewhere. It was like a turnaround in my life. And I've been grateful to Development and Peace for the way over the years they have broadened our perceptions.
Development Peace for me was based on justice and not charity. That was number one. We see so many people are taken by charity and they feel good because they can give people things. And I always say to people, do you know those people have so many talents? And what I really agree with DMP is that Development and Peace, they go there and they respect the people. They spend time to get to know what the people want and need.
Développement et Paix national faisait venir des personnes du tiers-monde. Exemple, Don Fragoso, qui venait du Brésil, et puis Monseigneur Camara. C'est sûr que ce Camara, il disait ce qu'il avait à dire. Quand on parle de charité, tout va bien. Mais quand on dit où elle est la justice, là, on dérange du monde.
The campaigns reached a lot of people, reached the Catholic constituency, and brought to them a message that could have been entirely new to them. For example, again, the landless movement in Brazil.
Certainly in the 70s and 80s, there were many military dictatorships in South America. And again, anyone who worked for civil rights and economic empowerment were seen as a threat to those elites.
Two of the most important in terms of solidarity of fall action were the one for Argentina for the disappeared people, and then the grandmothers of Plaza de Mayo.
Grandkids were disappearing. The grandmothers got together to try and find out what were happening to their grandkids. The parents, in this case, were being assassinated by the regime. The grandmothers came for support and solidarity in Canada, and they found it with the Catholic Women's League. At that time, 100,000 plus women.
That idea of taking a list of 31 people who were missing, and on the day of your birthday, you picked that person and you wrote to the government to say, we know this person is missing. Please be accountable and tell us what has happened to this person.
Showed me how one letter from one person multiplied by 10,000 can make a big difference. And it had an effect on the government, and some of the grandchildren were found. I thought that was a very clever idea.
I do remember quite well is the one on militarization, and it hasn't got better. I believe the Americans spend, for every tax dollar, they spend between 40 to 50% on the military. You know, when you've got an empire, you have to protect your empire. You could take that money for a year that is spent on the military, and you could bring every person up to a standard of Europe. It's a colossal amount of money.
When I began as an animator, the first campaign I was involved in was the anti-apartheid in South Africa. And of course, it was reaching a crescendo, and I was very proud of the fact that Development Peace was part of helping South Africa take off the yoke, I guess, of apartheid.
It impresses a government when they receive hundreds of thousands of letters, cards, signatures, or whatever. It's a message to them that a significant number of people want change. So I'm all in favor of very, very effective campaigns.
Et puis ça s'est concrétisé de manière étonnante et extraordinaire avec la fin de l'apartheid.
I greet you all in the name of peace, democracy and freedom for all.
D'ailleurs, vous savez aussi que M. Nelson Mandela, lorsqu'il a été élu président, a envoyé une lettre de remerciement à Développement et Paix. Et ça m'avait vraiment impressionné.
The campaign that I remember most was in support of landless movement in Brazil. had the pleasure of going with a group of Saskatchewan Development and Peace volunteers to Brazil. And these were people who had no land and were trying to get land from these huge estate landowners.
The paramilitary, the government's paramilitary, came in from one side of the 700 families, and the gunmen for the landowners came from the other side, and they killed 19 Centre leaders. And there were millions of acres of land that were not being used for anything at all. And all these people wanted, these unemployed and poverty-stricken people, all they wanted was to have a chance to have a little piece of land so they could grow their own food. Of course, we had the opportunity to go there and visit people in the area, a few families that had made the move, and that was very interesting.
Il y a une autre campagne, celle où on demandait que les compagnies manufacturières comme Nike et Lévi-Strauss adoptent un code d'éthique pour que soit éviter les situations où ils auraient engagé des enfants pour produire des espadrilles ou produire des vêtements.
Développement et Paix avait des partenaires dans ces pays-là et c'était nos partenaires qui avaient rapporté ces situations-là de mauvaises conditions de travail dans les usines de sous-traitance à Développement et Paix. Et le slogan était « Les personnes d'abord ». Quel prix a été payé par les gens qui ont fait ces vêtements-là et que moi j'achète?
Lorsqu'on a commencé la campagne, les élèves étaient vraiment surpris. Ils avaient des Nike dans les pieds, ils avaient des vêtements Lévi-Strauss, et puis là, ils comprenaient plus l'impact que ça pouvait avoir.
Développement et Paix faisait signer des pétitions. C'était un mouvement qui se faisait à la grandeur du Canada. Levi's et Nike ont envoyé une lettre personnelle à chaque personne qui avait apposé sa signature sur chacune de ces pétitions-là.
Au début des années 2000, on sortait de la grande campagne du Jubilé qui incitait toutes les personnes à favoriser les pauvres, à aider les démunis, à libérer les peuples de leur esclavage. Alors, Développement et Paix, fidèle à son option pour les pauvres, les exclus, a décidé de mettre sur pied une grande campagne de 3 ans. Le monde n'est pas à vendre. Les 3 thèmes développés, les compagnies minières, les semences et l'eau.
The mining campaign was the first campaign that I ever got involved with development and peace. Having to move from your home or having your home, your water poisoned and how that can potently affect you for things that are mined that we use here in the north just really got to me emotionally, I think. It really made me understand the need for us to help because we're the ones that are contributing to these issues. We're the ones that are consuming these consumer goods that need to be mined.
East Timor was a former Portuguese colony. In 1974, when they were about to declare independence, the Indonesian military invaded. So development and peace played a role in their struggle for self-determination and independence. On May 20, 2002, East Timor became the first new country of the millennium. And I was there, invited to participate in the inauguration for the restoration of independence. On December 26, 2004, a gigantic tsunami hit 14 countries. India, Sri Lanka, Thailand, and of course Indonesia, which is the nearest to the epicenter of the earthquake. We raised over close to $20 million for the recovery and reconstruction.
En 2005, les 3300 maisons étaient reconstruites, les rues repavées. Alors, c'est un projet où toute la population a été consultée, mise à partie.
And it was also the first time that development and peace was involved in supporting what we call people community-driven reconstruction, where people are actually in charge of their recovery and reconstruction.
En Haïti, il y a eu un gros tremblement de terre en 2010. Le tremblement de terre a eu lieu principalement à Port-au-Prince. Alors, les populations se sont déplacées dans moult et un petits villages, mais là où il n'y avait pas de structure pour les accueillir et pas de nourriture. Alors, plusieurs organismes qui sont des partenaires de développement et paix ont mis sur pied de la formation pour que les gens puissent développer eux-mêmes leur lopin de terre. Alors, c'est ce qu'on appelle la souveraineté alimentaire.
The campaign that inspired me the most was the food sovereignty campaign, because I learned so much about how world systems actually work. I learned that, you know, hunger, we think it's caused by a lack of food, but really it's caused by a broken system, and how many different ways people go hungry and how people can actually feed themselves in food sovereignty. And I think we have this idea that in the West that we need to fix things, that people in the global South are dependent on us, but really if we let them, they can feed themselves sufficiently. And I think that's where I really liked the work of development and peace and what we were doing. And I really thought, like, this is a way to have sustainable development.
I would just congratulate Development and Peace for standing on the side of the poor, and to know that is the right thing to do, and we want to continue to encourage Development and Peace to think long term and to create more permanent and more structured and more transforming partnerships to enable civil society and citizens in developing countries to hold their governments accountable.
Aujourd'hui, dans un monde marqué encore par tellement de guerres, de violences, développement et paix continue à avoir une importance extrêmement grande dans la lutte pour le développement de tous les peuples.
Esta es como una oportunidad importante para agradecer también a los compañeros de desarrollo y paz que nos están apoyando con esta escuela para fortalecernos en nuestros ejercicios propios en el empoderamiento de las mujeres. Son oportunidades que nosotros las dinamizamos y que nos ayudan a continuar en la construcción de una vida digna y dignificante en nuestro territorio.
Nous ne parlons pas de développement personnel en tant que bailleur, mais nous sommes vraiment de patriotes comme pour l'autre Haïti.
C'est sûr que nous sommes ouverts à la solidarité internationale. La solidarité internationale viendra en apport. Mais nous devons savoir que notre destinée doit être notre propre ouvrage.
For me, for contrast, partnership means that it is a mutual engagement, mutual cooperation, so that we can work collaboratively in the partnership, in the enrichment process for the benefit of the people.
1, 2, 3, kami dari Koalisi Perempuan Indonesia mengucapkan Selamat Ulang Tahun Development and Peace.
Well, I think I'm so fortunate to be part of the community of development and peace. You meet someone you've never met before and you feel that you're best friends because you can speak on issues at a very similar viewpoint and you can feel a real sense of community.
On fait appel à notre intelligence, on nous explique, on nous fait confiance pour comprendre là, ce qui n'est pas nécessairement facile à comprendre.
It's a program that promotes confidence. If we work together in the right way, we can do a lot of good.
Et puis voir la générosité des gens qui y ont travaillé, des centaines et des centaines de personnes et des milliers. C'est ça qui a fortifié ma foi.
Working consciously with young people to tell them what development and peace is all about and to get them active in development and peace is very important.
Well, I continue to be involved with development and peace because I believe in what they do. As an organization, we believe in going to the grassroots and to try and make long-term change for not only the people, but for the entire world.
I think my wish is just for development and peace to grow and become more vibrant and stay rooted in its mission and just go through the next 50 years even stronger and more beautiful.
Ce courant de solidarité là, qui bouille dans nos veines, bien, que ça continue, puis qu'on ne soit pas les dinosaures d'une espèce qui s'éteint, mais qu'on soit vraiment des personnes qui portent ce message-là comme des prophètes, puis qui permettent à des jeunes de poursuivre cette action-là pour que la paix et le développement puissent grandir.